Hello and welcome to another episode of Esports Connected. I'm your host, Megan Van Petten. Today we have Duane Pierre on the show. Duane, welcome to the show.
How are you, Megan? How are you?
I'm good. Tell me I have your last name right.
Yeah, Pierre.
Yeah, what a nice name.
Thank
What
you.
a nice name.
Thank you.
I can't help but to notice the headset.
Yes, this is well, a bunch of things are going on. So this is my favorite headset. I have several. I make sure I buy them for the comfort, and I got a pink one so that, for my serenity now moments. And anytime I feel like, like I'm having like a week where I need to just sort of relax, I started wearing these, and then it just sort of became, like, why not be in a good relaxed state as much as possible? So I wear these all the time now.
There is something to color therapy. There's the baby blue and the soft pink.
Hmm.
There's no accident that there
Yeah.
are precious soft colors.
Absolutely. And I'm wearing baby blue and
I
pink at the same
know.
time.
I
Yeah.
see that. I
Yeah.
see that.
And it's
So,
what you call it? It's what is it? It's National Cherry Blossom Festival. That's going on, and I used to go to DC and do that all the time. So, I'm celebrating everything right now. I'm celebrating my peace of mind.
that's wonderful. For those of you that aren't watching, beautiful, beautiful pink headsets and a nice baby blue shirt. So you come with some jazz, Duane. So let me share a little bit about what you're up to. Duane is the executive director and co-founder of the Worldwide Youth Networks. It's a youth empowerment collective that uses esports as a means to create safe spaces for youth to learn, live, and thrive. Duane himself is an avid gamer, comic book collector, and movie collector, music film enthusiast, and has been involved in youth enrichment work for 30 years. You live in Connecticut.
Mhm.
You have a wife, you have 3 children, and what a fun dad you'd be with all those hobbies.
Yeah, you know what? I figured out a way to turn all of my passions into, empowerment for myself, and it helped me with my own education, and my own mentoring style has been always based around video production, video games, music. Wherever I can, engage youth is pretty much where I try to meet them, and esports has been a godsend for us because it encompasses so many different things, like not just the competitive play, but just like the social aspect of it. Regardless of what your other fandom, whatever your other fandom is, within esports, you find some sort of alignment. So we have kids who are like, oh, like we really like anime, and then they'll only play anime games, or we like music, and then like they're really like they'll like create like chip tunes. They're really fans of different things, and it's just like, what, like whatever gets you to that point of happiness, you can really find that in esports.
You really can. I know you're also a coach. Was that your
Yeah.
entry point to getting involved?
Well, I started coaching in a very roundabout way. We were running programming where, the youth in our program kept saying that we had to get involved in esports, and through their sheer doggedness and really hounded me about it, we sat down, and I have an open policy where if you can come up with a plan that we can sit down and figure out a way to get the funding for it, we'll do the implementation. Well, I sat down, and at first I was like, you know what, like no one's going to pay us to run a gaming program. And the kids kept coming back. Originally we were doing video production and coding, some music production, things of that nature. But we had esports and we had gaming as really just something that we did on the side. And then we got into esports as a recreational thing for the youth. So it's like, oh, if you do this video project, then you can join the team, and then you can play for our local school district, because we went through the process of getting approved. Connecticut runs the CIAC Play Versus platform. So we were plugged into that before we were officially at the high school, running programs at the high school. And, you know, just because the kids were like, oh, you have to do it, you have to do it, you have to do it. And I was like, okay, well, you know, what games do they play? And I was looking, and we had a bunch of different games that you know, the students were interested in, but the only one that was actually approved as a varsity sport was Rocket League. And I'm an old school Rocket League player. I mean, when I started playing Rocket League, I would have to wait 20 minutes for people to even get on a, you know, to basically join a server. So so I would sit and I would wait. So like, you know, I would sit and I would wait and I would do something else. When somebody came in, like that's how we would play. And then one of my staff was telling me, like, you know, he and his friends, like they played 3-on-3, and he was telling me how far ranked they were. And then the students were like really engaged. And I said, you know what? I was like, I can coach Rocket League. I was like, I understand Rocket League. I've played Rocket League. I've watched Rocket League, and I've actually watched other people play at the professional level enough, and I've like done research on teams just for my own, you know, personal interest. So when it came time to figuring out like what we were going to start with, Rocket League was the easy way in for me. But in doing so, I ended up running an esports program at Central Connecticut State University for this will be my 6th summer doing so. And you know, it just sort of worked out. So when the high school needed to start their program, we were already doing it. So we moved in. Our after school program is Paradigm Academy. So we had the Paradigm Academy teams already playing. We brought those students in, and then I was helping CCSU find a coach. And when they were having difficulty finding somebody, I was looking at their program and I was helping them sort of revamp it, really focusing on the scholastic side of Scholastic Esports, more so than just having students play. And they were like, hey, you know what, like you're doing all the redesigns, would you be interested in coaching? And I was like, I'm not really going to have the time because I'm running my business and I'm also coaching at the high school. And they were like, well, it would be in the evenings and you would get to design everything the way you wanted to. And I said, this is great because now
Mhm.
I can connect the college, the university to the high school to the middle school. And now we have an esports path that would run, basically all the way up from 5th grade to graduation in high school. And, now the real goal is trying to find community partners and industry partners that will really show us what are best practices, what students be taking at the collegiate level, and hopefully offer them maybe a job opportunity, but definitely like an internship opportunity so that they have the practical work experience. So no matter where they go, they've had this experience from middle school all the way to post college. So we define the youth all the way up to 26 because we used to run and we used to have our students once they graduated high school, that was sort of it, and then we would just sort of keep going and working with the younger students all the way up. And then more and more of our students started coming back either to help out with the program or to get additional like mentorship and sort of like career exploration experience. So we've sort of extended what we do and who we do it with to reflect the need, not necessarily because I think about it and I'm like, when I was 26, I didn't necessarily have it all together, and I had a lot of support in high school. I had a lot of support in college, but once I graduated, it was sort of like now I'm on my own, and people just assume that I understand the way the world works, and that's not the way the world works. So, we've really sort of created this long engagement with the youth as a basis for how we interact.
Wow. How many youths have gone through your program?
So we've been running Paradigm Academy originally in partnership with CCSU and with the Consolidated School District of New Britain. We started that in 2009. It was a small program. We ran 5 days a week. The next year we got up to 25 a week. And then I was like, we should really start looking at ways to make this an official program. And we started running the summer of fall of 2013 is when Paradigm Academy was up and running, but we weren't a 501c3 at that time. We became a 501c3 when we started working with all of these other organizations around the country and around the state. It just made sense for us to, instead of basically create a new entity to house the partnership in. as opposed to trying to expand paradigm just as a single organization. Some of our best collaborators have been in existence for a very long time. And like we weren't going to rebrand and take over their brand, and we didn't want them taking over our brand. So it just made sense for us to create something new. The collaboration, like I said, has been there since 2009. We purposefully went after it in a way where we could raise the funds and that we could show that were a nonprofit organization dedicated to empowering youth. And what better way, right? If you can make the world better for a kid growing up, and you get to play video games on the same day, that's a good day, right? Like nobody's doubting that.
That's a good day. That is a good day. Are you still coaching?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, let's see. Tonight, my CCSU Overwatch team is playing their first playoff game. So we have Valorant, my collegiate teams, my Valorant team and my Overwatch team have both made it to the playoffs. And at the high school level, my League of Legends team made it to the playoffs yesterday, and today we have a playoff game in about an hour and about 2 hours to see whether or not our Smash Brothers team is gonna make it. Our Rocket League team at the high school level, we worked with them, and because of a lot of academic conflicts, we decided to bow out this season. But last season they made it to the playoffs as well. So within 3 semesters, pretty much every team that I have has made it to the playoffs. We made it to the Elite Eight at the CCSU level for Overwatch last semester, and we're hoping to make it there again.
Wow. So tell me, what's the secret? You must be very proud. What's the sauce, Coach?
The sauce is, make sure that you have really good people to support you. Make sure that you approach it purposefully. I know there are a lot of programs out there, high school, collegiate, where it's like, oh, we know that if we do esports, it'll help with attendance. We know it'll do this, it'll do that. I'm like, well, that's great. I said, those are clubs. I was like, that's casual play. You don't want to get students, if you're not trying to have them play competitively, don't put them in a competitive league, because that's just going to turn them off. We actually have two, even at CCSU, and the same thing at the high school level. What we do is we have a casual club level, and then we have the competitive level. And what we do is we let students play, and we let them get comfortable at the club level.
Yeah.
And then we recruit the best of the best from the club level to be on our team. So they've played at least a semester together. We've seen what their strengths and weaknesses are in a way where it's like a low pressure environment. We've coached them along those lines, and then we invite them to play and compete. And we really try to open things up. Central was previously run in a way where it was like, friends would invite friends to play. And I was like, it's like, oh, if you knew somebody, you could get on the team, and then you were guaranteed on. And I was like, no, let's just open it up to everyone who's available. At the high school level, we go through every lunch wave, and we recruit, and we have people come down, and we talk to them about the academic side of things, and we have them talk about what their interests are and see whether those interests align before they even show up to play competitively. We want to see what they're made of. We want to see how purposeful they are in terms of their dedication, not only to learning how to play, growing the academic side of things, but where they are in terms of being dedicated to their teammates, right? A lot of my captains aren't the best players, but they are the best individuals for the team. They are the glue that holds the team together. And I will say hands down that without looking for these captains and these peer leaders, we would not be able to play at the level that we play in because it is stressful. You have to do homework. A lot of my students, even at the high school level, are, they have jobs. I mean, like, they can't afford to just sit at home and play. We have students that don't even have computers at home, that, we stay open late so that they can come in and they can play. And, we're there 5 days a week. Like, we're like, they get 20 hours of intensive training in a game, but
Yeah.
we're also nurturing them in a way where they're thinking about things outside of the gameplay. We try to make sure we have that balance. Sometimes, like sometimes I'm like, okay, we have to go in and we have to, press them like really hard because I'm a competitive person. But, I feel that comes in time, when, because we're working with students now at a younger age, and we're prepping them, especially with a game like League of Legends, right? League of Legends has a huge learning curve. Like, my son is 9 and he's learning it now, so that by the time he gets to the high school level, he's not learning it within like a semester or two before he jumps in competitive. So, we're noticing a lot of that. We're recruiting in a way that the same way we look at, okay, we want to be able to empower a student over time, is the same way we're approaching it when we go competitive. It's like, how long have you been playing? If you've just been playing recently, you can play casual and you can still play with the team, but we won't put you on the competitive side of things. You'll be in the club, and then we celebrate together as much as possible. And when we lose, I always say, you can't cannibalize your teammates. You can't fight your team and the other team. So be gracious in the win, be even more gracious in the loss, support each other, and let's focus on that. We stick to the fundamentals. We stick to working as a team. And I think all of those skills are transferable. Everything that we're teaching them on the competitive side is transferable to, life lessons. There's no way that, students aren't taking, they may not understand what we're imparting with them, but they get it eventually. As they get older, they're like, okay, this is what he meant by transferable skills. And once again, we have a great team. Our youth come together as one, and we try to hold that together as much as possible. We build community first, and then we compete.
Wow. I'll share a small story. We had a member that bought pizzas for a gaming center of some college kids that went over, and I was invited to stop in. So I stopped in, and the students were so excited. They were playing, they were comfortable, they were happy, they were having pizza. And I had a minute to talk to them during their break, and they were in a tournament or practice at the moment when I was talking with them. And they were freshmen in college. And they were there. I asked them, when's the last time you were here? And they said, Tuesday. And I said, oh, you were just here. So this isn't a treat that you're having an Oreo milkshake and a piece of pizza. And they said, well, the food's a treat, but we come Tuesdays and Thursdays. And I said, oh, really, to be together? And they said, no, we have no gaming center at the college.
Yeah. Well, you see that a lot, though.
You see that a lot.
Yeah.
And I don't think people realize these kids students went 30 miles on the train to get to this gaming center twice a week, 2 nights a week.
Yeah.
From Chicago to Chicago, in Chicago. And thrilled to be there. Nothing but pure joy.
That's awesome.
And I was just thinking to myself, man, I went over to their coach and I was like, what do we have to do to get a gaming center in your school? I couldn't. I was just like, because they were just precious. And he's like, it's coming. We already got the grant. And I was like, oh, thank God. So, because these guys don't even know what they don't even know. Like, imagine, Coach, when we were in school, if we had to take the L 30 miles to go to the library.
Well, see, I got to tell you, I used to, for a lot of the events that I used to have to take, I grew up in Brooklyn, New York. Some of the events, like, it was an hour train ride for me. So, like, I fully empathize with, what, some of our youth have to go through. One of our business partners runs a gaming center. It's so refreshing to know that we have gamers guilds in Britain, because there are students who can't participate. I mean, we have 3,000 kids in our high school, right, roughly,
Yeah.
and we can
Yeah.
only fit about 40 students in our gaming center. So
Hmm.
he does a lot of things that are like free for students or like discounted,
Yeah.
and and they just have to make it there. We've
Yep.
actually donated some of our equipment. We had that we had like 3 older gaming PCs that they're using right now, because they want students to be able to do things like League of Legends. They have 2 more PCs that were donated. We have one that was just donated to us for them specifically. And it's just like, you know what, like, yeah, like this is what it's about, right? It's like building an ecosystem is not, oh, I'm at the university, I'm at the high school, we run a business. It's like, no, like, if we don't do this as a group, it's going to wither and die. I think about a lot of this stuff, like I'm a huge VR enthusiast. I look at, we had 4 or 5 VR lounges and cafes like pop up, but it wasn't really, like, the barrier to entry was, it was expensive to go and play. A
Yeah.
lot of kids didn't have
Hmm.
VR at home.
That's right.
Um, there wasn't an infrastructure. The schools weren't really interested in it. And it was just like a lot of these businesses folded.
Yeah.
Um, or they folded into pre-existing businesses. So instead of being their own brick and mortar, they were now
Yeah.
part of another, like some of them have moved into like trampoline parks and things of that nature, where
Yes.
the cost to operate is lower, but people aren't necessarily going there for VR. And I've seen that
Right.
happen. And I'm like, you know what? I was like, the reason why this doesn't happen with esports is because of the community around it.
Yeah.
It wasn't just, oh, we're going to open up these businesses and, we're going to make money off of it. It was like, there's a community that will literally travel. Robbie at Gamers Guild, like their people, they come up from as far as New York. Like they have
Yeah.
people who will travel um from out of the state, but a lot of their players come from 20, 30 miles away, and and they're kids. Like it's not like like they're just sitting around. We just took a trip to Newtown to see if Affinity Sports, literally just to have the conversation, because I know that they want to do so much work in the community across the state,
That's right.
and my conversations have been, hey, we are, like we're not geographically landlocked anymore, right? Like, quarantine has proven that, being virtual is a thing that is sustainable. Like
Yes.
it's not going away. So you can have people
That's
who want
right.
to come in person, but we can still do projects, right, virtually. So CCSU, Post, and the Alzheimer's Association are doing a fundraiser for the Alzheimer's Association. Originally, it was just supposed to be CCSU. Then we spoke to Post, and we were like, hey, if we do like a cooperative thing where, like, you hold events on your campus and we hold events on our campus simultaneously, and then we switch back and forth between the streams, but then we have our students compete. I was like, think about how many more eyes we get, you
Yeah.
know, like how much more money we can raise for this
That's
organization that
right.
we all believe in,
Yeah.
as opposed to saying, hey, like it has to be this or it has to be that. It's like collaboration is key, which is,
Yes.
pretty much, what what I've been doing and what I've learned a long time ago, and I've stuck with it. And I love I love what we can do together. Someone said to me, or I heard it, I don't remember where, but I've been saying it and I take no credit for it, but I use it. None of us is smarter than all of us. And I'm like, that makes perfect sense. Like, bringing together these ideas, will really move things exponentially.
That's
I
right.
can move the needle so far, but then
Yes.
somebody else can move it even further. And then, like it'll branch out in a way that, none of us will originally, may have originally conceived of, but it's a stronger situation for us all. And I love what we're doing here locally. And I hope to do
It's
it nationally
wonderful.
and internationally.
Well, and yeah, so let's talk about that. You joined the association,
Mhm.
and tell us why you joined and tell us how we can help you. I know you're also coming to our Esports Next annual conference here in
Absolutely.
Chicago.
Yep.
So let us know what we can do as a community. Talk to us, coach.
Well, I think the one thing that we have to really figure out is, I'm an educator. I spent 3 years teaching. I've been working in schools since April 12th of 2000. And then I taught for 3 years, and I've been running my own program since '09. And, the one key piece that we're always missing is what's sustainable at the industry level? What's going on in the industry that will lead to the education, right? So like that whole, like I feel like we come up with ideas and we build these things without ever turning to business and saying, hey, what are you guys doing? Like, like we need that information, right? You're the foundation, you're the finish line, you are where everybody is trying to get to, but we're not having those conversations. Like we talk about, how to build things at universities, but do we talk about, what's the best curriculum? What are you guys looking for? And how do we then turn around and say, okay, what's the best way to teach this so that the jobs that are available are being met by people who are actually trained in them, and they're not getting training once they get out of college. And I see that a lot where people are like, oh yeah, well, like I didn't really know what I was going to do. And then I got trained on the job, and now I know X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, how great would it be if we just started asking the questions from middle school all the way up, like, hey, like, what you do this every day, like what does the next 60 years look like for you guys, and what would you like, so conversely, it's not necessarily what you guys can do for us, it's like what can we do together, how do we create these opportunities for the youth coming up? Because I gotta tell you, 10 years ago, I didn't think that I would be coaching esports, and I've been playing video games forever. Like what does the future look like for our students? Just different, industry trends. How do we get politicians on board, understanding the importance of things like tax credits in states for businesses? Like, what do educators need to say to the same politicians who are coming to them for their votes? Because let's face it, teachers unions are huge, all right, and they always attract gatekeepers. Okay, well, if we want to do something, like we have to go to the teachers unions, we have to do all of these things. But at no point are we then turning around and saying, okay, well, you know what, like, yeah, we're teaching, we're educating, we're empowering, but our kids aren't going to be in after school forever. They're not going to be in high school forever. They're not going to be in college forever. Eventually, they're going to enter the workforce. What does the workforce need us to do to make sure that they're getting the best people possible? And that's where I think, that's what I'm excited to learn. That's why I want to go to esports next, because, I know that there are questions I'm not even thinking about because I haven't sat down to really figure it out. We work with a couple of indie developers, and that's great. And Connecticut has CT developers as an organization. We're getting ready to join that as well, just to figure out what indie developers are doing locally. But we
Yeah.
really have to know. I mean, because esports is isn't just about game development, right? There's so much more, and a lot of educators don't even realize that. We sit down and we start explaining to them some of the curriculum that we use. We're running the curriculum with the North American Scholastic Esports Foundation, NASEF. And I got to tell you, everything that they're doing is what we were trying to figure out how to build. And I tell everyone, I was like, why build something when there's something perfect here already?
That's right.
I was like, but then the next step is, yeah, all of this works, but now let's start talking to businesses. Let's start talking to the industry insiders, because we don't know. We're educators. It's our job to educate and empower our students, but we have to find the best way forward, the best path forward, and we're not doing that successfully. So, when I was like, oh, there's a esports trade association, I was excited. I was ecstatic, because I was like, it was a Google search and you popped up immediately. And I was like, I should have done this years ago. I should have
It so fires me up when educators like yourself, can get with the Microsofts and the SHIs, or, the people that could put some legs to the programs that they're working on. That's the recipe,
Yeah.
that's what we
Yeah.
need. where the kids are protected and they're, you know, they're properly represented and they're not, you know, they're nice, supportive sponsorships that
Hmm.
help their future. So I do think that you'll be delighted when you get to Esports Next.
Oh, I can't wait.
Oh, we're so excited to have you, and we're running out of time. Is there some handles that we can find? We can find you. I'm sure there's going to be people that are going to be very interested in what you're building. And
Absolutely.
yes, want to share a couple of your handles
Oh yeah.
and
So you can find us easily. If you go online, we are WWYN.org. If you hashtag win WWYN, we usually pop up. If you do win esports, we'll come up in a heartbeat.
well, I appreciate you sharing all about your program. A bunch of great kids. What a lucky group of students that you have. I really appreciate you
Yeah,
being on the show.
thank you so much. Thank you so much. I know that like I said, any day that I can do the work that I do and play games is a phenomenal day, and I get to do that more times than not. So it's a wonderful thing to do.
Well, there you have it, Coach Duane Pierre.
Pierre.
Pierre. All
Pierre.
right. Coach Duane Pierre
Mhm.
at wwyn.org.
Mhm.
Reach out to him or come to esportsnext.gg and we'll celebrate together for our worldwide youth networks. And thank you for being on the show, Coach.
Thank you for having me.
It's my absolute pleasure.
Yep.